Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show today. We're going to have a great show. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking with Jonathan Goldman about healing frequencies, using sound to restore your body. And the second hour to Robbie Holt about the secrets of Aboriginal healing. So get ready to be energized and have your cares and worries just washed away as we talk about these healing modalities. But don't forget, Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all of the products and services I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, energy medicine healing, and psychic readings. You know, so if you're in a crossroads in your life, do go to my webpage, check it out, give me a call, drop me an email, and set up a time for a consultation. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. So we're in January. I have a bunch of things coming up in March, April, and May, which I'm going to start talking about maybe next week. But I just want to remind everybody, please do stop by the Just Energy Radio webpage, sign up for our newsletter to keep you informed of what's going on, or check out our YouTube channel. That's Just Energy Radio on YouTube. If you go there, please do subscribe. Also, and I've talked about this a little bit on other shows, I have been producing these little mini documentaries that go anywhere from 8 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And I think the longest one is 15 minutes, and I've broken it up into parts. And that's at Science and Spirit Meet. And it covers a bunch of topics, including ancient mysteries, some health and healing. There's some meditations on there. There's not a ton of stuff, but it's very informative. And if you enjoy this show and like that kind of brain food, please do watch the videos. Don't skip the commercials, okay? Because that's how I make a little money. Keeps this show up and running. So please do check out the channel. I think you'll enjoy it. Leave nice comments. Say hi. I'll say hi back. That's Science and Spirit Meet on YouTube. Okay, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to announce. Not that I can think of. Actually, I do want to say one more thing. So I just learned that Inception Radio... Is this okay that I talk about it, Joe? Are you still there? Okay, well, I'm going to talk about it because I'm not getting any feedback. That Inception Radio just got picked up by Roku, which is some programming thing that you can put on your TV, kind of like TuneIn Radio, but it's this whole other box thing. And Inception just got picked up by that network. And so I just want to say hello to all the people listening on Roku that have started listening to the show. Glad to have you here, and I hope you enjoy the content. Oh, I was told yes. So, okay, so I guess it's an okay thing. Anyway, so let me tell you a little bit about Jonathan and get him on the air, and we're just going to get going. So Jonathan Goldman is an internationally acknowledged master teacher. He facilitates healing sound seminars at universities, hospitals, holistic health centers, and expos throughout the United States and Europe. He has appeared on national television and radio, including Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM, and has been featured in national periodicals, including USA Today and the New York Times. His annual Healing Sound Intensive attracts participants from around the world. So the author of Healing or Chakra Frequencies, a bunch of different healing CDs. His webpage is www.healingsounds.com. Jonathan Goldman. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
Hello, Rita, and everything is just energy, isn't it?
It is, and that's what we're going to be talking about, I think.
Hey, listen, congratulations on Roku. I didn't know what it was until a few weeks ago. I got a little thing for my television set, and it's really cool, so congrats on that one, too.
I just found out about this 10 minutes ago because there, we have a chat room that people go and visit and, interact with the show. And I'm going, wow, there's a bunch of names that I've never seen before. And so that's when I found out that, we have a new channel. And it's like, whoop-hoo. So that's cool. That's always very exciting when you have new people listening and being exposed to this kind of programming. And you get to be the first one on my show.
Hello, Roku people. And and everyone else who's listening, we're going to have a great hour because by gosh and by golly, Rita, when you're talking about when science and spirit meet, and that's, of course, the whole thing for me with not only, sound, but, I mean, really all aspects of energy, which are really just, vibration. The ancient mystic masters and our modern quantum physicists are saying the same thing, that everything is in a state of vibration, everything is sound. So as you were talking before, I said, golly, that's just what I want to say. So I said it. All right.
Okay.
I have nothing more to say now.
Okay, bye. No.
Okay.
Have a good night. We'll see you all next week, everybody.
That's right.
But it's interesting. I was doing an interview this afternoon on with Howard Hughes, and we got into this whole conversation, and I was talking about where physics is just, and science is just starting to recognize concepts that have been prevalent in the metaphysical, mystical realms for eons. And they're just starting, I joke around. It's like, go to the metaphysical bookstore, pick up these books, and it'll teach you everything about, energy and healing and vibration and sound and how that all works and why we resonate with it. So maybe you don't have to work so hard with those numbers.
Well, they were trying to tell us a long time ago, whether it's in the beginning was the Word, or the Lord said, let there be light. And all these different traditions. In the Hindu tradition, it's Nara Brahman, the world is sound. And indeed, it's so interesting. What do they call the latest? And, when I think about it, the latest quantum physics theory is called string theory, but it's actually been around for almost 100 years. And my son was watching a show on superstring theory, and he said, Dad, why don't they call this the law of harmonics? And I said, that's too simple. So, but, once again, the idea that all these different dimensions are vibrating slightly at different frequencies so that we can sort of coexist together in a multiverse, not a universe, but a multiverse altogether. I love it.
Well, what I think is interesting with using your example is that when they give examples of that on TV, they always go right to a guitar.
That's right. That's right.
Which is the classic example of, resonance, that or tuning forks, maybe right. A piano.
That's right. Exactly. And there's so much more we could be just, talking about. I suppose it would be a good thing to give your listeners a bit of an idea of how sound can heal. Would that be a good idea?
Well, actually, that is my next question. But could you do a little 5-second thing on how you got into sound and how you got into healing? Because remember, when we spoke last time, we were actually on a different show. And so I want to kind of get my listeners up to speed with who you are and where you come from.
Indeed. Thank you. memories.
Well, I know. I had so much fun. It was like, no, you got to come back. It's that New York thing,
It is. So there I was, stepping on stage with my band in Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is on Cape Cod, in a seaside bar. And all of a sudden, I looked out, and I was getting on 30 years old at the time. And I was, a seasoned professional musician, having played for over 15 years. And we were playing, original rock and roll music. And I became aware that night, at that particular moment, all of a sudden I had this sort of aha experience of looking out at the audience and becoming aware that there was an ambiance of negativity and violence that was, pervading the club. Now, no doubt the alcohol and the other intoxicants that people are imbibing was helping create this ambiance of negativity, but I realized that the music that I was creating at the time was also helping induce this. And I thought, gee, I wonder if music can be used to make people feel better. And Rita, it just that to me was a life-shifting concept, because I had basically been into the whole phenomena of, let me just entertain you and applaud for me, aren't I great, to, oh, gee, can music make people feel better? And then that thought slightly shifted just, I don't know how many degrees, maybe 11, 12, 13, and became, I wonder if sound can be used to heal. And within 2 weeks of that, doors just began opening, and I took a workshop that was given by a dear friend of mine by the name of Sarah Benson, who my wife Andy and I call her the Divine Mother of Sound Healing. She's now operating off of a different plane of consciousness, but she's still very, very much around us. And she put me in a circle of people holding a quartz crystal, which at the time I didn't have a clue at. I was not. First of all, the New Age movement really hadn't even begun, and there I was holding this quartz crystal, and people are singing my name. And lo and behold, I had, I guess you would call it an out-of-body experience or something like that, but I was taken into an amethyst pyramid in the woods, and all this light and love was being focused on me. And then I ultimately came back to my body, and I opened my eyes, and I thought, I've got to find out something about this, meaning the crystal I was holding, and I've also got to find out something about sound. And I still am. But what happened from
stuff?
and particularly finding out about sound, I just recently, about 2 hours ago, did a trademark on. Tell me you don't love this as a title: quantum sound.
Cool.
And the idea, I've been doing this now 30, 35 years. And, once again, the amalgam of the ancient mystical mastery and the new quantum aspects of manifestation and multiple realities and instantaneous thought and things simultaneously occurring and, really miracles manifesting. I just really love it. So in terms of my background, I formed the Sound Healers Association back in the very, very early 1980s that had all these masterful teachers who were doing this stuff, long before I had ever thought about it. And they would freely come of their energy. Sometimes they'd come from overseas to just talk to this group one night for 3 hours. It was really, really outrageous. Wonderful professors and scientists and musicians and artists and healers just talking about their approach of using sound for healing. I thought, gee, this is really real. And Rita, I come from a family of medical doctors, father, grandfather, brother, all medical doctors. So I, have this, if you like, pretty well developed left brain. I thought, this is real stuff. This is real stuff. And there was a place near me. I was living in Lexington, Massachusetts, and in Cambridge, Massachusetts was Lesley University, which had one of these sort of create your own programs. And I created an independent study of the uses of sound and music for healing. And that was just, for me, a great education. I not only became a walking encyclopedia on sound healing, but a number of my books, I just merely had to take, sections and paragraphs and perhaps rewrite them, but the information is still very, very true. My very first book, Healing Sounds, which was written in 1992, has as valid information as anything you will find today, because this stuff doesn't go bad. And as you were saying, sometimes it takes a long time for this information to make it to even, I don't want to say the mainstream public, but just even either into the scientific communities or into a lot more people than you'd initially think.
But, if you're speaking truth and you're writing truth and you're talking about basic concepts of the universe, it can't go bad because this is how it is. Unlike, a lot of people in the scientific community, in my opinion, that just kind of make stuff up and put it out there and say, well, this is how it is. And it's like, no, it's not. Who made that up?
Yeah,
I guess you've experienced that. Just maybe once or twice.
I'm just laughing. This book that I am working on has this sort of, I have to have my wife edit it because sometimes I get a little bit too cynical. And one of the cynical things is, what's really good or bad in terms of losing weight? This is one of the things that, in terms of the public, is, are carbohydrates really the cause of it all? Is cholesterol really the cause of this? Is this and that? And there's so much stuff that's out there that becomes faddish, and then it is either proven wrong or it just disappears and is replaced by the latest fad. But sound, ladies and gentlemen, is here to stay.
But if you think about it, we have, going back, into indigenous times, Neolithic times. I don't know how far back music goes, but it is one of the first things that I would think has been a constant as part of and connected to. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back because they have found bones that were carved into flutes that were made by Neanderthals. So they go back thousands and thousands of years. The concept.
Well, I think your next guest is dealing with Aboriginal healing techniques and sound. By gosh and by golly, the didgeridoo is one of the most potent instruments on this planet in terms of vibrational realignment. It's quite extraordinary, and it's really old. And what is it? It's a hollowed out piece of wood, and yet it can do extraordinary things, as can our voice.
Well, I was going to ask you about the didgeridoo, but I fear, well, that might not be your thing. But how does that work? Other than, they blow through it, but does, you listen to it and I'm not auditory, so people will say, well, how does this sound? And they tweak some little knob on the soundboard and it's like, sounds the same. I don't know. I really can't perceive a lot of difference. There has to be a very drastic difference. And on a didgeridoo, when I listen to that, the sound that comes out, I don't really hear a difference. But in you being a sound expert, is there tonal differences when they do when they do the do?
Rita, when they do the do, there is tonal differences, but as on a level, the more I learn about sound, back in the in the mid 1980s, I was, as part of my master's degree at Lesley University, I had been collecting for about 2 or 3 years different systems of using sound and music for healing. And I had a pile of papers that was probably a foot high. And it was great because there were all these scientists, healers, musicians, etc., who had openly shared with me different sounds that they used for healing. And this was great, except none of them agreed. And I'm freaking out. I remember I'm looking at this computer, and it's, you may be young enough to remember when things had DOS operating systems. And this computer did, sort of, a very, very dark screen with amber letters flashing in front of me as I was writing, because I'd come to the realization that there are all these different systems of using sound for healing. And there was no reason for me to believe that the people who would share this information with me should have been not telling the truth. It was their experiences, and they had very, very positive experiences using sound. But, spiritual master A would use one chakra sound for one particular area of the body, and spiritual master B would use a completely different chakra sound for that same part of the body. Or scientist X would use a frequency for an organ, and Dr. Y would use a completely different frequency. And I'm going, how can this be? How can this be? This doesn't make any sense. And I was literally, I remember I had my head, my hands, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious. I was literally in a state of intellectual angst. And I heard this inner voice. And the inner voice said, it is not only the frequency of the sound that creates the effect. It is also the intention of the person making and receiving the sound. And I wrote down these words, Rita. I wrote down frequency plus intent equals healing. And that came from the, mid-1980s, and I think it is as valid, if not more valid, in 2014 than ever before.
And I agree with you 100%. And I could see where, based on my experience, where one person working with a didgeridoo and one person doing vocal toning and somebody else, shaking a rattle or whatever it is, each achieving benefit, but they resonate with the instrument they're playing. And so it becomes this combination. And so if you give the didgeridoo player the rattle, it's not going to resonate with them, and they're not going to create the same kind of healing.
Well, totally. A lot of it is our belief system. I have a friend, I know you're familiar with Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. And I mean, that is so very, very important. And yet at the same time, particularly when we're dealing with, there's a science known as psychoacoustics, and that deals with how our nervous system basically is affected by sound. Okay? And for example, really loud sounds have a similar effect on almost everybody's nervous system as long as they're able to hear. And what happens when you have really loud sounds is that your heartbeat accelerates. You basically get the fight or flight principle, which occurs. Adrenaline is released, and it's not particularly a helpful thing. It probably dates back to, indeed, when we were cave people and we'd be lying around, and all of a sudden we'd hear a roar, and we'd be up in a tree before we were even consciously aware of what was going on. It'd be our, if you like, autonomic nervous system that would be taking us up in the tree for protection. Well, nowadays we don't need that, yet we still react the same way. So check yourself out. The next time a fire engine goes by you, or somebody beeps you with a car horn, or even if you listen to loud music, which is why oftentimes with people who work with didgeridoos, I tell them, please be very, very cautious don't play too loud. Just because it's loud and people can feel a tremendous effect and power from it doesn't mean that louder is not better. And in fact, I oftentimes suggest that people who work with didgeridoos don't work with pregnant women because the fetus is extremely, extremely sensitive to loud sounds. But that's a whole other topic because I love the didgeridoo. But I mean,
but you brought up a great point, and I'm going to kind of take it back to where you started about going to a concert or something like that. There are what impact, all right, I used to work, and I might even, I have worked and enjoy working, doing security at concert venues because they pay me money to go listen to concerts and, basically be mean to young kids and, take out my aggression on stupid people. So it's really kind of fun, No, I'm serious, and so like, you'll love this. I had to guard the soundboard at an Eagles concert at a venue that held 6,000 people. Oh, hurt my feelings. Oh, really? And you're going to pay me to do that and just stand there and enjoy myself. Okay. It works for me. It totally works for me. So I ended up going to see like 50 concerts, over the course of the summertime. And, and some of them, the people are so nice. And then you go to other ones, like Korn in particular has always been like not a fun one. Or, and the music is upsetting and the crowd is upset. And so what you're saying is that people are responding to that music, or at least that's what I'm hearing. But what is it in the music that they're responding to?
Well, I will answer that. But I need to say something that I forgot to say in the first 2 minutes of my talking to you, and that was that I really like to differentiate between music and sound, and my focus is on using sound as a healing modality rather than music, simply because my purpose is to help really empower people to use really their own voice, whether they're humming or just making long, elongated vowel sounds or whatnot. And oftentimes when you say, well, music healing, people think they need a degree or they need to be a singer or they need to have some talent. But if you say sound healing and that anybody can make a sound and that sound can be a healing, vibrational shifting modality, then it really opens up the whole framework of who can be a sound healer. We are all sound healers.
So even if you have like a really bad voice and everything.
So we're going to get back to that. But I want to tell you that I also did security at shows, and not too many, but I don't know if you remember a group called the Jefferson Airplane.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
I've seen them.
Yes, I was security for them, and being a guitar player, I talked with the Jefferson Airplane guitar player about Jimi Hendrix and his style and technique. But what's so interesting is that I have a 25-year-old son who works with us, and he knows a lot about sound. And we went a few days ago to the Battle of the Bands in Denver. I live in Boulder, but this was in Denver. So we went down to Denver, and this inner guidance said to me, before you go, pick up disposable earplugs. So we did, and we stuck them in. And Rita, I am so glad because it, it was so beyond loud. And there was one group that played, for want of a better term, metal. And metal is a huge genre, and some of the stuff is really cool, but this stuff is pure. I mean, literally, it was pure noise. They had everything cranked, and it was just had gotten to the. And you have to understand that, having grown up with Jimi Hendrix as my guru, I understand feedback, etc. But these people are doing that, and yet they drew the largest audience. And I was going, what's going on? And what I also found very, very interesting was that I listened to, I stayed the entire night, and I listened to, a dozen or so bands, and there was nothing new that I hadn't heard at least 5 to 10 years ago, which is fine, but very, 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 very interesting, and certainly, I was talking with my son about this metal band because, really what it was just, once again, truly noise. And he said, well, and I said, it sort of is the antithesis to the beautiful type of music that a lot of people try to create that's really haunting and whatnot. He said, well, Dad, it's really very, very nihilistic. If you can get into the fact that they are like trying to generate nihilism in their sound, then you can understand why a lot of younger people like them. I said, I really appreciate that. But nevertheless, I mean, we're talking about how loud sounds affect us. And one of the things, and I tell this to people because sometimes, a car will be coming down the street and it'll practically be levitating because the bass response is so loud that the car, boom, boom. And, people say to me, are they doing that just to annoy me? I said, no. I said, what has happened is that because sound triggers a fight or flight response, it triggers adrenaline. And these folks have become adrenaline junkies. So they got to listen to it really loud. And in particular, and I'm hoping that anybody who falls into this phenomena just utilizes this. I'm not saying this is bad or this is good. I'm just giving you the facts. And the facts is, for example, we now have MP3 players. They've been around for about the last 5 years, maybe 10 years. And before that, we had CDs. Before that, cassettes. And then before that, something called LPs, record players. Oh, my God. Trips down memory lane.
You have to, flip those things over every half hour. What a pain in the butt. You have
what
to get
is
up out of the chair. Oh, man.
Okay, so if you spread your arms apart, and let's say your arms all the way apart is maybe 3-4 feet, that is the bandwidth or the sound spectrum of a CD, okay? That's not even the complete sound spectrum that exists of an analog recording. That would be, that would be twice as much. But so we have our arms spread, about 3 or 4 feet. Now, if you bring your hands closer and closer and closer together to, there they are, they're about 4 to 6 inches away from each other. That is the sound spectrum of an MP3 recording. It's the reason you can fit a gazillion MP3 tunes on your iPhone or whatnot is simply that they have compressed and taken out 90% of the sound. And it tricks our ears. I don't know what it's doing to our brain, but it tricks our ears into thinking that we're hearing the full music, but we're not. We're only hearing about 10% of it. And I think this is one of the reasons why, with your earbuds in, the stuff has got to be cranked up to 11. And, because there's stuff that's missing. And I am actually concerned that we are, if you like, creating a generation of folks who are going to be, wearing hearing aids, by the time they're 30, 35.
Well, I worried about that myself. Because it was me and, my headset, my little earbuds at work every day. But, I'm only partially deaf.
Right. And if what I said to you was the truth, and it is, it would not necessarily be brought to the public simply because nobody wants to give up. If one were to say, okay, listening to MP3 is too loud is dangerous, and I've spoken to doctors, and they're not saying this because they're just old meanies. They're talking about the fact that no, this is really, really jamming your nervous system, your brain, and your hearing apparatus. I had no thought that we would be talking about that at all, but for those of you who are listening to music real loud, turn it down a little bit. You'll really thank me in a couple of years.
Yeah. and get earplugs when you go to a concert. Unless it's a really good concert, then maybe not so much the earplugs. But
I hate earplugs. I'm a musician, and it's golly, earplugs really, remove 90% of the sound too, and it's not in the spectrum even of MP3s. But the reality is that if you walk in, all of a sudden they have a 100-watt Marshall, which is what Jimi Hendrix used at Woodstock, in a room that's about as big as a lot smaller than a supermarket, and the people are up front. That sound can be almost lethal.
Well, the way I figure it, it's like there are earplug shows and there are not earplug shows. And kind of depending on who the artist is will depend on, do I stick the earplugs in or do I enjoy the show and, lose my hearing?
And and once again, my music is available on an MP3, and it sounds it sounds fine because it's not meant to be jacked up real loud. It's supposed to relax you. In fact, I am just right now, because if you like, gods and goddesses of sound are saying, gentlemen, play an example. I'm going to basically bring this up for just a moment, and this is not meant to be like jammed real loud. And, because of that, I think it's fine. In fact, this is quite beautiful. And if you were to listen, to it too loud, it would just remove the whole effect of relaxation. Just a little excerpt from, it's called The Divine Name I Am. And I'm laughing to myself because, Rita, that music, which you have to understand as a musician and as an engineer and somebody who actually does know a little bit about frequencies, etc., spends a whole lot of time making it really at least perfect for my ears. And I just played something through a device that basically sent it out through the airwaves via a phone, mono. So it's probably worse than the worst MP3 file, and yet there was probably an energy that you could sense from that recording. But
you were sending good intention with it, so it made it up. It made it for the mono.
Yes. Indeed. So it's a really interesting phenomenon. So getting back to how we can use sound for healing.
Well, let me ask you this, and then you can go right there. Let me ask you this, and let's kind of set the stage.
Right.
Does it make a difference if you are singing and using your voice as you suggested, or playing an instrument, or hearing a recording? Do those different modalities work differently, or can you experience healing from any and all of them?
Yes, and then yes.
Unless they're MP3s, right? No.
No. Even MP3s. I would never belittle any form of music or any playback system. I am just really simply concerned about people damaging their hearing. That's simply it. And with regards to this, yes, it's different. Listening to music. First of all, sound goes into our ears, it goes into our brain, it affects our heartbeat, respiration, brain waves at the same time. Sound also, and you notice I'm using the word sound, but I could be using music because here we are talking about listening to CDs, etc., will go into us on a molecular, cellular level. And that's really cool. Okay, so you got that so far? Yes? Mm-hmm. And the same thing is true, of course, if somebody's playing a didgeridoo or a Tibetan bowl or they're singing to you. Now, if you are making your own sound, see, I think there's nothing better than you making your own sound. Number one, because you are able to, and this is pretty easy, and I'm going to have to write this book just because people need to learn how to do this, even with a hum, is to be able to take a and direct it with your consciousness to a part of your body, maybe where you got an owie or something that's sore, and you're going, and all of a sudden you go, wow, my headache's gone, or wow, that stomachache I had is gone. And what it is, it's like an internal massage. And there's nothing on this planet that can reproduce that except your own voice. Everything else is coming from the outside in. This is going from the inside out.
Okay.
I thought those were really profound words. I was going, I need to write this in this book, too. Did that make sense to you or not?
Yeah, it did.
And, if it's going from the inside out, we're able to therefore get vibrate and resonate that which is vibrating out of tune with our own voice. And it's much, much more powerful. The closest thing that I could possibly think of is taking actually some sort of headphones, such as I'm wearing right now, not little earbuds, but actually headphones, and putting them over that part of the body and letting the sound go in there, that type of thing. But it's still going from external to internal, as opposed to internal to external.
Okay.
You seem puzzled.
A little bit.
Okay, where have I lost you?
Well, I'm just trying to kind of take it in, it's like people tell me stuff and then I have to really kind of think about it and process and then, and I'm supposed to be like on air paying attention, but then I go off my own little,
Okay, so
thinking.
you and I want you now to close your eyes for a minute, and anybody who's listening right now, close your eyes for a minute and we're going to hum. We're going to hum for about 1 minute. And and I want you to check yourself out now. And while you're humming, let's direct it to our forehead, okay? Just close your mouth and, so we're going to hum, okay? Just for a minute. Just then you can tell me what this feels like. So here we take a nice, relaxed, deep breath. Nice. Let's take another. And how about one more? And everybody who's listening, please, I hope you're doing this too. Now, I told you to put your hands on your forehead to see if you could feel it vibrating. I'm telling you, I forgot to do that, but you would have, because that was your intention. You were directing the sound there. How do you feel? Do you feel any different?
Well, it's really kind of interesting because what I was experiencing was that it's like I hate doing these little exercises on air because then I have to tell secrets.
Right.
That there was a lot of congestion in my head.
Yes, well, I guess what?
And I was just kind of waiting for the humming to kind of break it up and feel it release, which it didn't. But I'll share this little secret. You know, I was kind of trying to be cool because I'm on air, and you know.
Right. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that if you were to hum for perhaps more, you became aware of the fact that there was congestion. I'm going to throw some research, and the first research that I'm going to throw at you has to do with the fact that when you hum, you release nitric oxide, which is a molecule associated with the promotion of healing, and basically, I call it sonic glycerin. Now, here's something. This will crack you up, and anybody who's listening, I want you to do this too. I just found out about this. I've been in sound for 35 years. I found out about this factoid about 6 months ago. I'm going to hum, and about 5 seconds into it, I'm going to close off my nose. Okay? Watch what happens. Well, you can hear it. The sound stopped. It's impossible to hum if your nose is closed off. You want to try that?
Mm-hmm.
Just hum for a second, then close your nose. Stopped, didn't it? You can't hum. So when you're humming, what's happening is you're vibrating your nasal cavity. So you're getting the release of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, incidentally, was named the molecule of the year a few years ago. It's that important. I'm going to tell you a couple other things that were happening to you as you made that sound.
Okay.
You're increasing the oxygen in your cells. You are lowering your blood pressure and your heart rate. You're increasing levels of melatonin. Now, we all know about melatonin because it's put out by the third eye or the pineal gland as well as the heart. And it's often used to work with our circadian rhythms. So people use it to help them sleep, but at the same time they found that it's useful in the treatment of depression, and it also investigating shrinking tumors with melatonin. To continue, we get, just by making these sounds, we get the reduced level of stress-related hormones. You get the release of endorphins, which are those wonderful self-creating opiates that work as natural pain relievers. And finally, when we make sound together, we get the release of oxytocin, which is the trust hormone, which, a lot of people call it the love hormone or whatnot. But that's why when people, they sing together or they make sound together, all those barriers that exist disappear. And I was just giving you some of the scientific data, let alone the esoteric, etheric data about using self-created sounds. Now, once again, mind you, we probably only sounded together for 30 to 45 seconds when we did that humming. So I would say 3 minutes minimally in order to...
Hey, Jonathan?
Yes, ma'am.
Jonathan, I want you to hang up right now and call me right back because you are starting to sound bad and you're not healing me.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so Jonathan's going to call back in because his sound is really bad, and we're going to get some good healing Jonathan sound back for our last 10 minutes of having him on the air with us. At least the aliens didn't get him today, like our other guests that seemed to disappear from on the show. But do we have him back yet?
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Do I sound better?
Oh, you sound a lot better because you were kind of you had this, I'm in a tunnel where there's no cell service kind of bad sound.
And I get that not only on, and I have the best phone connection that is possible, without moving, but also I get it on my, my cell phone. This is a landline, incidentally, but I get it on my cell phone, and weird stuff going on. I think that's, once again, there's so many different frequencies that are being broadcast at this particular point in time and space. It's amazing we're able to talk together.
Mm-hmm. So, Jonathan, we have we have 10 minutes left, and I want you to be able to play a song, on the way out. So, pick a track that you'd like to play so we can kind of backtrack that amount of time till we go to commercial break.
Great. So 10 minutes, more or less, because I want to talk about something that I think is so very, very
10
important.
Minutes till we go to break.
Okay, so in that case, I will speak for about 8 minutes, and then we will basically listen to the Heart Sutra, which is from the Buddhist tradition, and this is a recording I made for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But I want to talk to you now about World Sound Healing Day, which is on February 14th, 2014. This is the 12th annual World Sound Healing Day. And it is a day when people throughout the planet, thousands and thousands of people, basically will make an ah sound. While we actually have a website, we have a couple of different websites. One is called worldsoundhealingday.org, and the other is called Temple of Sacred Sound. And with that one, that's the world's first cyberspace sacred sound temple that you can go into and literally be with thousands and thousands of other people projecting positive energy for our planet. That's coming up on February 14th. Now you got to ask me why. Where'd you get this wacky idea?
Yeah, where'd you get this wacky idea? How was
that? Thank you. So I was in deep meditation. Obviously it's got to be at least 13 years ago. And this inner voice says, okay, you have really done a pretty good job helping bring awareness of the use of sound and music as a healing modality to the consciousness of our planet. And as you know, I have over 25 CDs, been nominated for a Grammy, have half a dozen pretty well-known books, and more people are really becoming aware of the power of sound. And so I said, okay, I get that. So I said, now we want you to not only continue this work, but also begin to work healing the planet with sound. And I said, great, I love it. How do I do it? And that was it. I didn't get any more information. So that I was going, oh my goodness gracious, But I knew that somehow it involved the internet, that the internet would be a means that we could all, if you like, link in and lock in together. Because right now the internet, if you like, is the neural net. It's the brain of our planet, yes?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
But what we really need to do, and what we found, of course, is that the energy field that the brain puts out an electromagnetic field, and the heart puts out an electromagnetic field. And when the heart and the brain are synchronized, the energy field from the heart can be upwards of 500 to 5,000 times greater than the field of the brain. Okay. I hadn't known that at the time, but I knew that we had to somehow link the heart and the brain together. And what I did know was that in many, many of the different sacred traditions, the connecting point between the heart and the brain is sound. So I thought, okay, let this be a day when we work with the power of intentionality, where we have this coherence, if you like, between our heart and our brain, and we generate sound. And there are a number of different scientific projects that, for the last 10 to 15 years have begun to show the power of meditation and prayer, group meditation and group prayer, for example, to be a measurable phenomena that can actually interface with our planet. And what I know on this very, very deep level, I've not been able to work with scientists to prove it, but on my very, very deepest level, I will tell you, there is a reason why the different prayers on our planet are vocalized. They're spoken, they're whispered, they're chanted, they're sung. They're vocalized. They're made sound. The prayers are made sound. And the reason for this is that sound amplifies the power of prayer. It's a totally simple concept. It's one that makes a whole lot of sense. And that's what we do on World Sound Healing Day, is basically we project a prayerful, energized, intentionalized sound to the, if you like, what I call the Gaia matrix, the energy field of our planet, in order to assist it and help bring higher consciousness to all the people on our planet, so that we can, on a level, stop being so competitive and start getting cooperative and compassionate towards each other. Because I think that well may be the single greatest thing that we as a species can do in order to maintain ourselves and reach our next level of evolution. What do you think about that one?
Well, I think that that would be a great thing, because something needs to happen and something needs to change. You know, and I just appreciate everything that you do. So I know we're running out of time. If people want to find out more about Sound Healing Days, your books, your CDs, everything, Jonathan Goldman, where do I send them?
HealingSounds.com. That is the umbrella. And that sounds with an S at the end. If you don't put an S at the end, it takes you to lovely Indian guru, but it's not me. So it's HealingSounds.com. It's an award-winning website. There's lots of free stuff there, lots of information, lots of great things. And I know that we are going to be going to commercial in a very short time. So,
well, I'm waiting for you to just put the music up. We have 3 minutes.
Right. I understand that. So in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to say a couple of profound things. Number one, Thank you so much for having me. Number two, we heal the planet, we heal ourselves. We heal ourselves and we heal the planet. We can make a difference and we have a choice. And I want to thank you so much. We are now listening to the Heart Sutra from the Tibetan tradition, which is said to bring illumination to all who hear it. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jonathan. You know I love you.
Thank you so much.